Alright, we have a lot to get to, so let's just jump right in. I am on book number 5 of one of my favorite new adult series on Dublin Street. This one is called Echoes of Scotland Street. A book or two ago, they skipped about 5 to 10 years so they could take on the stories of the characters who were teens in the earlier books. I did not like the first book of that reincarnation, and at first I didn't really like this one either. It felt too similar to the Marked Men series, and I found the male lead to be a little over pushy at first, but that actually comes into play as part of the driving plot points of this book as you get later in, so that gets kind of worked in and dealt with. And I ended up really digging the characters, and the second half of the book is pretty dang good, so I ended up liking it. The Edge of Always by J.A. Redmirsky. I ended up really liking the first book in this series, which was called The Edge of Never. It started off kind of slowly, but it was a slow burn, and I ended up liking that. But this second book, it was really episodic. I know it's a traveling story and they tend to be episodic, but it never felt like there was much of a cohesive plot driving it. It started out like there might be, but then it just kind of piddled out into, then they drove here and this thing happened. I know a lot of people loved this book, but I just couldn't get into it. After reading Courtney Milan's new adult book that I really liked last month, I thought I'd go back and read one of her Regency romances. I've been on a Regency romance break for a while as I was just kind of sick of the whole genre. But I've always liked Courtney Milan, so I figured if I was going to stick my toe back in, starting with her was probably a good idea. This is Unraveled, which is the third book in her Turner series. This one is about Smite Turner, who is a magistrate relentless in the pursuit of justice, and Miranda Darling keeps showing up in his courtroom in disguise. I really loved this one. The characters were great and the story was endearing. This restored my faith in the genre somewhat, at least those parts of the genre written by Courtney Milan. Then I was like, what the heck, I'll try another Regency, so I picked up the 5th book in Eloisa James' Desperate Duchess series. I like Eloisa James. This specific series of hers has been hit or miss for me though, and this was a miss. I just can't with the stereotypical characters in this genre. I think I'm off Regency romance again for a while. So Jo Goodman is my current go-to for a good historical Western romance story, and usually she does not disappoint, but then on occasion she just goes off the rails, and when she does, it's into epic incoherency. Marry Me is one of those books. First of all, trigger warning, this book includes some pretty graphic descriptions of physical trauma after an assault, and I'm not sure the character's recovery from that psychological trauma was altogether handled believably. The characters are actually kind of good in this, but the plot was just all over the place. It was a little off. Fast Track by Julie Garwood. This is contemporary romance / suspense, and the 12th book in the Buchanan Reynard series. This is one of the first contemporary suspense series I ever started reading, so I'm patting myself on the back right now for having caught up. Book 13 comes out in July, I believe. But anyway, book 12 is about Cordelia and Aiden, who we've met in past books. Cordelia finds out some shocking news about her family that takes her to Australia. Aiden, her best friend's older brother, and also a hotel magnate, comes with. This book wasn't groundbreaking by any means, but the series is consistently good. It's solid. So if you do like romantic suspense, I do recommend starting back at book 1 and tackling this entire series. Instant Temptation, book 3 in Jill Chavez's contemporary romance Wilder series. This one finally gets to what's bothering Harley and why she can't stand TJ, which they've been teasing in the other books. This isn't my favorite series by Jill Chavez, but it's all comparative. It's still a pretty good series. This book isn't brilliant, but cute, but not brilliant. Guys, I'm all caught up on the Lucky Harbor series. This is the first contemporary romance series I really started, and I'm caught up. And it's done! Dunzo! Jill Chavez is not writing anymore on the series, so whatever series she replaces it with better be dang good because I'm going to miss my Lucky Harbor. Anyway, the book I so innocently read without the knowledge that this would be my last glimpse into the world of Lucky Harbor was One in a Million. This focuses on Lucille's granddaughter Callie, who runs a successful online wedding planning business, and Tanner, who is the third in the triumvirate who run the local charter boat company. Not sure this was the most climactic book to end on. It was pleasant. I got the good Lucky Harbor vibes, so I'm happy. I wonder how long I'll last before I just start rereading the series from the beginning. And then I tried out the contemporary romance Empire State trilogy by Louise Bay, starting with A Week in New York. This was self-published and has less than 1,000 ratings on Goodreads. The plot is a British girl who just had a bad breakup goes on vacation for a week in New York and gets drawn into a no-strings-attached vacation fling, but will it stay that way? This was actually really cute and very short, so I went on to the second book, which was Autumn in London. If the first book was the vacation fling storyline, this is the office romance book, and I did not like this one. The male lead got too He-Man for me. But I went on to finish out the series as I was curious to see how the storyline wrapped up, so I read New Year in Manhattan, and I'm glad I did. I liked it. These books are all really short, which gives it a stripped-down, spare feeling to how the story is told, which I actually kind of like. These books are not my favorite contemporary romance stories I've ever read by any means, but for a self-published author, they are pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to reading more of her work. Have you been reading any books by self-published authors? What are some of your favorites?